One chilly morning in her close-knit neighborhood, Leah, a 33-year-old woman of African descent, noticed a troubling scene unfolding. For young men, seemingly in their early 20s, were cornering a frightened teenager who couldn't have been more than 18. With firm determination, Leah stepped forward and raised her voice. "What do you think you're doing? Leave her alone, or I'll call the authorities." One of the men chuckled derisively. "Relax, lady. We're just offering her some work. Nothing for you to get upset about." Leah's tone hardened. "I said back off. If you don't stop this right now, you'll regret it." Instead of retreating, the group turned on Leah, attempting to grab both her and the girl. Leah resisted fiercely, clasping the girl's hand tightly as she tried to lead her away from the danger. At that moment, Officer Harris, a 40-year-old law enforcement veteran, arrived on the scene. Leah felt a flicker of relief and quickly explained the situation. But her words were met with a dismissive glance from Harris, who exchanged a subtle, knowing look with the men. When she finished recounting the incident, Harris smirked. "You're causing unnecessary drama, ma'am. These guys are just trying to help someone like her find better opportunities." Leah's anger simmered, though she fought to stay composed. "We don't need that kind of help. We can make our own way." Without warning, Harris spat at her feet, a cruel smirk on his face. "That's exactly why you people don't get anywhere in life. That attitude keeps you stuck." Leah, her expression unreadable, wiped her face and said nothing. Instead, she calmly took the young girl by the hand and walked away, her silence brimming with determination. The very next day, the tables turned. Officer Harris and the four young men were summoned to court, confident that they would walk away unscathed. But as they entered the courtroom, shock gripped them. Sitting in the judge's chair, wearing the unmistakable robes of authority, was Leah, the woman they had insulted and belittled just the day before. The courtroom was silent as Leah's commanding voice filled the space. There was no need for anger or theatrics. The sheer weight of her presence spoke volumes. She wasn't there for vengeance. She was there for justice. What had started as an act of intimidation against her was now a reckoning. Years earlier, Leah had been just 18 herself, a bright young woman in a struggling community. While many girls her age left school early to take on jobs and support their families, Leah had dreams of attending university. Her best friend, Maya, however, saw things differently. "College is a waste of time for people like us," Maya had said bluntly one evening. "I've got a job offer that pays well, and it's easy work. You should come with me. Save up some money, and then you can think about school later." Leah had reluctantly agreed, thinking it was the most practical choice at the time. She, Maya, and a few other girls from their neighborhood packed up and headed off, optimistic about what lay ahead. The job, at first, seemed straightforward. They were hired to promote events and products. It wasn't exactly glamorous, but it felt manageable. That illusion didn't last long. The man in charge, a shrewd and manipulative employer, soon began demanding that they pose for increasingly inappropriate photographs. Leah refused, her dignity refusing to bend. In response, the boss sent his lackeys to punish her physically, though they made sure her face was left untouched. Covered in bruises, Leah continued to work, concealing her injuries and enduring the pain in silence. "You're only making things worse for yourself," Maya had whispered, her voice heavy with resignation. "Just do what they want. If you keep resisting, they'll hurt you even more." But Leah couldn't bring herself to comply. The photographs were only the beginning. One stifling afternoon, the girls were instructed to dress in revealing outfits and prepare for what was described as an important event. Maya begged Leah to play along, and reluctantly, she agreed. When they arrived, the horrifying truth hit Leah like a blow. This wasn't an event. It was a sickening auction. Numbers were pinned to their clothes, and they were herded onto a stage like commodities. Wealthy men lounged in the audience, bidding on them without a shred of humanity. That night was one Leah would carry with her forever. Over time, the young women were coerced into a life of exploitation. Leah resisted with every ounce of her strength, enduring relentless beatings as punishment for her defiance. She refused to break, even as her body bore the marks of her resistance. Maya, on the other hand, accepted what seemed inevitable. Not long after, she fell gravely ill, contracting a disease that left her weak and in constant pain. One evening, as Maya lay writhing in agony, Leah decided to risk everything. She made her way to the boss's office, hoping to plead for medicine to ease her friend's suffering. But as she approached the slightly ajar door, her steps faltered. Inside, the voices of the boss and one of his associates carried an ominous weight. "These sick girls are no good to us anymore," the boss said coldly. "Get in touch with the buyers. We'll harvest their organs and make a profit." Leah's heart raced as she backed away silently. The horror of their predicament galvanized her resolve. Returning to the others, she shared what she had overheard. The shocking revelation spurred them into action. Staying meant certain death. They had to escape. Leah took charge, formulating a desperate plan. For days, she observed the guards and their routines, searching for a chance to flee. One of the girls, known for her charm, managed to gain the trust of a guard who held the keys to their confinement. Under the guise of friendliness, she swiped the keys one fateful night. With their scant belongings hastily gathered, the group slipped into the darkness. They ran as fast as their legs could carry them, heading toward a dense patch of forest. "Once we get through this, we'll be free," Leah urged, her voice a mix of hope and determination. But none of them realized the danger lurking ahead. Hidden near the forest floor were infrared sensors. As they crossed, piercing alarms shattered the silence. Chaos erupted. The boss and his men, armed and furious, descended upon them. Panic overtook the group as they scattered in every direction. Gunfire echoed through the trees. A stray bullet struck Maya, and she collapsed with a cry. Unable to move, she clutched Leah's hand tightly. "Go, Leah," Maya urged, her voice trembling. "I'm not going to make it. Don't let me hold you back." Tears streamed down Leah's face as she hesitated, but the other girls pulled her away. "We have to keep going," one of them pleaded. "It's what she wants." Leah was dragged forward, her heart shattering as she glanced back at Maya, who managed a faint smile before the shadows consumed her. By dawn, the group reached the safety of a nearby town. But Maya was left behind, her sacrifice weighing heavily on Leah's conscience. Once they were secure, Leah went straight to the authorities to report everything. But when the police raided the compound, they found nothing but an abandoned building, stripped clean of evidence. Without the others willing to testify, Leah's story was dismissed as a wild fabrication. Though the world around her turned a blind eye, Leah refused to give up. She made a vow at that moment to bring justice for Maya and all the women whose lives had been stolen. Over the years, she worked tirelessly, balancing multiple jobs while pursuing her education and piecing together the evidence needed to expose the criminal network. For 15 long years, Leah's determination never wavered. Finally, the fruits of her labor were undeniable. She had uncovered the truth and built an unshakable case against the sprawling web of corruption and exploitation. Officer Harris and the 4 young men who had harassed her were just minor players in a much larger operation. With the help of dedicated law enforcement allies, Leah had tracked the ringleaders who had profited from the misery of countless lives. Harris and the men believed their arrest was a personal vendetta, convinced they were being punished for nothing. "This is abuse of power," Harris barked as he was led into the courtroom. "We've done nothing wrong." Leah, standing tall and resolute, retorted, "Nothing wrong? You're part of a system that preys on women, traffics human lives, and profits from unspeakable acts. Your bosses are already in custody. Justice is coming for all of you." As the trial unfolded, the horrifying truth of the network was exposed to the public. The evidence Leah had gathered left no room for denial. The gang leaders and their accomplices were found guilty of crimes too monstrous to describe and were sentenced to the severest penalties under the law. Leah's courage and determination became a beacon of hope. At a ceremony recognizing her bravery, she stood with several of the women who had escaped alongside her all those years ago. Later, they visited Maya's resting place, her grave marked by a simple stone engraved with her name. Leah knelt beside it, her hand brushing the inscription. "We did it, Maya," she whispered, her voice filled with bittersweet triumph. For Leah, the fight was over, and a new chapter awaited, a life filled with freedom, hope, and the memory of those she fought to honor.